Welcome everybody. This is Hugh Massie, the founder and chairman of DNA Behaviour International. And today I'm delighted to have with me Adam and Lauren Kevu, who are the founders of the Zoe Ministries. They're based in the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. So I've got another Aussie couple to talk with today about identity. And they've recently formed the Zoe Ministry. So let's, guys, why don't you just tell me a little bit about, your life and backgrounds and how you've got to this place as a husband and wife team in forming the ministry.
Thanks, Hugh.
Thanks, Hugh. I'm from Solomon Islands originally, and I moved here when I was 18, turning 19 years old. I've been working with, I moved here to work with YWAM, Youth with a Mission. So doing mission work, traveling everywhere around Australia. And so I lived in Sydney while I was here, and a couple of years later, involving in YWAM, Youth with a Mission. And I just felt in my heart that it's like, man, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing, involving YWAM. I want to start to find a local church or a place that I can call it home. So I decided to move to Bundaberg up in Queensland. And I moved up to Bundaberg. I went to this prayer house and I met Lauren. And ever since then, things changed for us. But the biggest thing is that I moved from Solomon Islands to be here to help people and just do ministry. And that's how I come about to live here in Australia. And then I met Lauren.
And I felt like when I met Adam that I always say I felt like my life made sense, because this lifestyle of traveling and going in and out of different cultures and all to help people, to bring life and bring joy and overflow. That all just got me excited, and my resume up until that point did look a little, didn't stay in any place for too long. We moved a lot growing up. Dad, just different promotions and things. We moved, over Queensland a bit. Once we met,
So when we met, Lauren asked me what I'm doing, and I just said, I do mission work. Because when I was here in Australia, I traveled to Indonesia, Malaysia, just doing mission trips and stuff. And so it's when we met, Lauren kind of excited because, let's go and do that. That's what I want to do. And for me, on the other hand, I felt a little bit like I've been doing that for 10 years and I don't want to do it anymore.
I want to stay in one place.
I just want to stable. But when we come together, I felt like for us, it's more I think it's a moment for us for our next season in life.
Yeah.
Because I felt like when we met, being stable at the local church in Bundy, that's not what I was looking for. In my mind, I thought that's what I was looking for. But I think it was a moment that Lauren and I, when we met, we put our life together. And then now we kind of trying to figure out what we want to do together as a couple. And I think that's why Zoe Global Ministry come about, because we met in Bundy. Lauren moved up to Townsville. I moved back to Solomon Islands for my visa to, get my visas to come back to Australia. So I went back to Solomon Islands, 7 months in Solomon Islands, and then I came back. But we were engaged when I went back to Solomon Islands. So our engagement been 7 months.
And so then we were in Townsville, and we were working with a local church there for 7 years. And then the opportunity came to move to South Africa and help to take over a church there. And so, of course, we put our hand up thinking, yes, finally, this is the dream. This is the reality of the dream. This is Adam's thing and my thing kind of coming together. And our stuff was moved. We sold everything. We sold both our cars. The container went to Africa. We had a house rented. We had a school, our boys enrolled in schools there. It was all sorted, and we came to the Sunshine Coast for a 2-week holiday to say goodbye to the family and goodbye. But then the goodbye went on, and 3 months later we were still waiting for the visas to come. And in the end, we were able to train the team over there through, Skype and every other technology, and they launched successfully, and we're only a phone call away. So in the end, we didn't really need to go. So that's how we landed on the Sunshine Coast. Eventually our stuff came back, and eventually we bought, cars again and resettled. But, I think after that, though, especially for me, Adam had really felt like that was, like working for, what he, had felt to do about just being more stable, remaining in Australia. So he sort of suspected that maybe we were never actually going to go, but I'll support my wife in this new dream, And so for me, when it didn't happen, that was a really low point for me. I really had to mourn that. It really felt like the death of a dream. And it took a while to sort of start to, I sort of say to see again, I think, to start to, okay, well, yeah. So, we got jobs and that was all fine. But I think during isolation last year, that's when we really felt shaken to just question. And I don't know, 40 is coming up close again, close for us. And so it's sort of that, we're thinking halfway point.
Did it happen last year? Was that when you
launched? Well, we haven't officially launched, but that's when we need to get overseas to get projects to come back with. But yeah, that's when we started everything. And we've,
So you were supposed to go to South Africa last year, and then ultimately it didn't happen.
Oh, sorry, no.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Okay. And so you got the ministry set up in South Africa basically by remote control, by Skype calls and Zoom and whatever else.
Lots and lots of WhatsApps, And so, because we were both going to do different roles in the church over there. And we've still got friendships that we keep in contact now and everything, which is amazing. But so that was about 3 years ago that happened.
So something that I heard as we started the conversation is you both want to help people. So where and then we'll get to the ministry in a minute, but where's that desire to want to help people come from? Is there an event in your life? Did something happen? Did you do something?
Yeah, I think for me, growing up, I grew up in a home that my mom sees a Christian, but my dad is not. And my dad used to abuse us. And growing up, I felt a little bit like my mom go to church, believed in God, but on the other hand, my dad abused me, makes us feel really, so I kind of like, I don't believe in God, because if God is my father, why is my earthly father, abuse us this way? And growing up, I just felt a little bit disconnected with God and disconnected with the family. And I've started to, live my own life, left school when I was 12 years old and started to hang out on the streets with other young people, and we involved in drugs and other things. But I remember the day that when I start to help people is when my life changed. That was 7th of July 2000. I have a transformation in my heart. Like I just felt that I don't want to keep going this way anymore, like this behavior, like taking drugs and all that. So I have a God moment. I have a revelation of who God is, and my life changed. And then I started to stand on the streets corner and helping people. So all the people that I used to sell drugs to, they come up to me and I start to talk to them about the transformation that had happened in my heart. And this is back in the Solomon Islands. And that grew, and then I moved here. And
so how did you actually help them?
I helped them through sharing my faith with them, by saying like there's more life than what we are doing now. Like I've been involving with them, like taking drugs, and I feel hopeless. And I help them through pointing them that, hey, there's life more than this, like there's life.
So in a way, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. In a way, you reformed yourself, okay?
Yes.
And you've shared the inspirational story of that with others, and that it is possible to turn your life around.
Yes, around, yeah.
And so you are helping people by sharing stories.
Yes, yeah.
Because this is important. This is important to understanding, your identity, and we'll get more and more through that. You weren't serving people meals or working in a food bank or something like that, or there's lots of ways to help people.
Yes.
But I wanted to get to the specific talent in a way that you were using to help people, and it's sharing stories.
Yes,
So
and I think that's the biggest thing that I've been doing. Like even at my current job now, I work for Integrate Families and Youth Services. So it's a lot of people coming in, they're homeless and rough sleepers, and all I do is just sit there and talk to them. And they will come into my office, sat there, tears running down their eyes. And I start just telling them this story about my life being changed and transformed. And then they just ask me, so what should I do? Then I was like, it's the choices we make. Like today, you got to make right choices. And then you will look back, your life will be transformed. And I tell them about how 7th of July, I make that choice to, change my behavior from this, like taking drugs and other things to, to life, to live in a different way. So it's storytelling, and it's been
it's powerful.
So Lauren, what about you?
I think
you want to help people too.
Yes.
So how have you been going about it, and why?
Yeah. Well, growing up, I do think back to mum and dad. Dad, with all the different opportunities that he had, was always a manager and a leader of, hundreds of employees. And so mum would hold an annual cancer fund afternoon tea. And so we would have hundreds of ladies out on our lawn once a year, and we would be serving them cups of tea and coffees and and I do think that, and she was always volunteering, whether it was school tuck shop or we went to Anzac marches and things like that. Always I think we learnt how to honour, we learnt how to serve, and how to kind of give back, I suppose. And so, I've always just had a heart to want to volunteer and serve others. And I think we actually went to America as a huge family holiday when I was 15. And I loved it, but my favourite day was the day that we went down to Tijuana. And, we were there for 2 months, and we were only in Tijuana for a day. But that was my favourite day. And I didn't really realise until, I guess, we were processing about Zoe, about why have we got this heart for cross culture? Like it's not normal. We've realised, I think, for such a long time. I just thought it was normal, but then I realised I kind of stand out from my family. And while that day was, for most of them, like my mum, she was panicking the whole time, because I was running here and looking at this and looking at that and listening to people and just, and then at 19, I did a 3-month volunteering trip to India, which I just loved, every single day, whether it was good or bad or strange or wonderful, I still loved every single day because it was so different. And then, so I think when I met Adam, it made sense. So the helping though, I mean, I've studied public health. I'm a speech pathologist by trade.
Yep.
Which I actually went to uni to study medicine. I always had this dream of being a doctor in Africa. I wrote actually, and I found a journal of when I was 12, and I'd written, I guess you either get to live the exciting life and be a doctor in Africa, or you get the boring life of living in Australia, but at least you'd get a husband and children. And I, once I found that, I sort of thought, here I am, this 12-year-old trying to work out how the world works. But yeah, I think how we want to help, we do want to share the stories and help people to see and realize hope, but also a big part of it is the care for me, and Adam too, but like the public health side of things, the sanitation and the food and the education, all of that side of it is huge. And so that's why with Zoe, we want to have those two arms, or at least the practical side is sending a message of the, the story side, or or that would be a road in to be able to share our stories,
And
so there's inspirational stories, but there's also, which is somewhat coming from Adam.
He's better at stories than I am.
But there's the personal care side that's coming from you, Lauren.
I think the biggest thing for us with Zoe Global, because when we start Zoe Global in our minds, like even for myself, growing up in the Solomon Islands, compared to my family and others, they like the things that I'm doing now. They say, man, how do you do that? Like, how do you move from Solomon Islands to live in Australia? How do you provide for yourself? And I think for me, the biggest thing and the thing that I loved about the DNA behavior is believing in people. Like the biggest thing for me, like even I remember standing on the streets, I share with the people and I said, you don't have to live this way. There's more life. You can live your life, not based on the finances, but it's just based on the choices you make. You can live the life. And I think that's why I'm so like with Carol and the business and stuff, like with behavior, it just really inspired me because, I just want to help people, but to inspire them to storytelling that they can, live bigger life.
Yeah.
And I think.
Live a bigger life.
Yeah.
And a life that as I suppose is authentic, is true to them.
Yes.
Exactly, with hope and joy and fulfillment, I think, because that was probably my thing. I got to a point in life where I didn't I just had followed the college trends and and I came to a realization. I was partying and doing the college thing, and I just woke up one morning and I'd worked all week, and then you party Friday night and wake up too tired to do anything on the Saturday, and I just remember thinking, is this all life is? Like this if this is all it is, I just knew that I probably wouldn't give it much longer because and I started thinking, like, I'd grown up in a good home, I had like mum and dad are still married and have always, like we've had a really blessed life, and I've been given really good morals and I knew them and I knew the rules and things like that. But I realized, with that same, revelation awakening moment that what I didn't have was my purpose, and I didn't know who I was. And so I was trying to just do what I thought was right, but it wasn't giving me any satisfaction or joy. And I'd sort of felt that way with speech pathology for a long time. And again, I think, and like post not going to Africa, when we were still working, we were still helping hundreds of people in our jobs. We were doing great things. And yet we still had this niggling, we just knew we're not doing what we feel that we're supposed to do.
So Lauren, what would you say your purpose is? Because it's not speech pathology directly itself either, is it? Else.
No, that's right. Like that's something I feel that's in my hand that brings like hope and healing and that I can use as a tool and be hopefully a blessing to people in my community. But yeah, absolutely. We really want to we've worked out we want to be based in Australia, and this is what Zoe will be, based in Australia, but yeah, training people here because we do love teams. We've worked all this out through, and obviously our profiles. Once we got profiled, it made a lot of sense about why along the way we've been blessed, like we've been able to attract people to do jobs that they would not normally do. Like working with children is not a job that many people would volunteer for, and that was what we did. And yet we had teams of over 100 in both places where we were, and that was very unusual, you know. And they would rock up every fortnight on a Sunday to give 4 hours of their time.
And the kids were crazy, like, you know, kids are not sitting still, but those people, like, and a lot of people that we had, it's like a lot of good people, successful people. But I think the biggest thing for us is to helping people to find their purpose in the things that they know that they would love to do, but they don't know how to. So like for us, we equipped the teams, like 120 volunteers that we have, that we lead them and we train them, we equip them. And every fortnightly Sunday, they come out and help the kids run a program, connect with families and serve them, making coffees and different things like that. I think that's bring us joy. Like when we do that, it's kind of like, for them, it brings joy for them as well, like helping others, and then for us, helping them to find that.
And when I think seeing the joy that it brings others to serve one another, you know, that's what we loved about Team, was seeing them find joy and fulfillment in helping each other. And so that's what we do. We want to train and recruit people to go over to developing nations and communities, you know, schools of you know, teenagers and staff teams, churches and other organizations and the individuals who've got a heart for that, but to really train them in the culture and what we're, you know, going over to do, but then to go into these communities and add value, build capacity however we can. But then it really is a bifold where we want people that come back from that, having had this amazing, really powerful and transformation, I think, within themselves, having, I think, seen something and been involved in shaping someone's life for hope and for life, to bring that back to then, you know, pour that out in their community here back in Australia.
So if I just connect the dots, just so everybody understands, and even that I understand, with the Zoe Ministries, is you're finding volunteers in Australia, whether it's kids from schools or university, or they could be in a disadvantaged setting somewhere and they need turning around, but you're finding these volunteers, inspiring them. And then they get to go overseas, say to Cambodia or South Africa or Namibia or wherever it is, and work on a project. So you've also got to find the project, and you train them and help them, guide them to fulfill the purpose of that project.
Yes,
that's right.
And then they come back, hopefully having had a good experience of serving others.
Yes.
Like in a way both of you have done in your earlier lives. And now from that they're on a path to transformation. Have I got it right?
So that side, and then also, you know, professionals, staff, you know, staff teams, just doctors, nurses, speeches, teachers.
So getting all sorts of people that want to go and serve somewhere.
But definitely that younger generation is a big part of what we want to do.
And but also the older generations could learn to do it too, as part of, you know, it's not just being a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer or whatnot the whole time stuck in an office.
That's right.
You need to go out there and give a bit of yourself to the world, and that's what is pulling these people together and then getting them to go and work on a project.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's what Zoe is about. And because our biggest heart is that we know that when working with people, we know that a lot of people wanting to help in cross-cultural like mission trips and stuff. But the idea of 2 years in a country, it's kind of like, man, I have family here, I have my business to run. So I think the idea of doing a short-term mission trips or short-term go and help in a project, that will give them fulfillment as well. But our biggest goal as Zoe Global is that we will have an office in every country that then that project will keep going, but we will send people that express interest or wanting to make a difference in a developing world. So
and then to have permanent presence. in that community. So we don't want to just fly people in and out. We do want to actually build relationships and empower people wherever we are,
so why is cross-cultural so important?
Mm.
I
think for us in our marriage, I think that's the biggest one. Like we
feel we have learnt things that we can
just because you've got a cross-cultural marriage.
Yes,
and in a way got cross-cultural background. Certainly, Adam, you do, but Lauren, you've also gone and had experiences, whether it was in Tijuana and wherever, and other parts of the world through your upbringing, where you could see you could have impact if I've got the idea.
I think more than ever, caring for the future of our global community is important, and unity is important, and caring for one another's brother or sister, blood related or not, is important. And we have learned, I guess, over the years that to get along in our marriage and to move forward in our marriage, it doesn't matter whether something comes from the Solomons or a custom or whatever, or it doesn't matter whether it comes from my upbringing. If we don't want it as part of our future for our children, then it doesn't belong. So I grew up, I was a yeller. I naturally yell. And
I switch off.
And the Solomons, they go walkabout. That's a thing. And so we had to figure that out. Like, well, I don't want him to go walkabout, and I don't like yelling anyway. It doesn't ever feel good. And I don't want my children to yell at me or anyone else. And Adam's like, well, I don't want them to learn to just switch off and go walkabout. So we had to figure out, okay, how do we do conflict better? And so, but it's not just us, but I do think that when people go and they see men and women in a different culture who are loving life and enjoying their community, and I think judgment goes out the window. I think entitlement goes out the window. And if we can train people in the culture before they go, in things that will hopefully get rid of those judgmental kind of, they should be this and they should be doing that, but instead to go in and just straight away be able to appreciate the richness of what they're now a part of. I just think you're bigger and better as a person. You're more accepting and kind and loving, and I think that can only do good for our globe,
And the other thing as well, like cross-cultural for us, is I think it just helps us to love people that are different from us. Like for me personally, I like a lot of my friends when I was here, a lot of my friends, they used to judge, oh, you black, or those white people, they don't. But I was like, no, I need to learn what they have that I don't have. So I think going into cross-cultural, it helps people to love a person of the culture that they're in and benefit what we don't have, that together we can make a difference. I think so. Like for Lauren and I, in our marriage, some of the things that Lauren had that I don't have, and it helps me and complements me, like some of the things that I have, that's, so I think helping people to go in a different culture to open and to I would say, to broaden their perspective. Because if you're in your own culture, you think that the world behaves in a certain way and you're stuck in that system, and then you start to prejudge other people that are different from you. So I think Zoe Global Ministries, that we want to help people to go into cross-cultural and just to help them to see the richness and the bigger things that, you know, that in that culture that I can learn. And that's why for us, we felt really encouraged and inspired that people will come back, they will be different because they've learned that, man, that culture, they give me something that I can help here in my community and my society.
Like the Solomons is a good example. I mean, a lot of the islands are very still family orientated. That family unit is important and valued. And, you know, I think it'd do all of us like good to, you know, to see people, like the humanity of people again, and
in a community,
and vice versa. We're adding value while we're there. You know, we're hopefully helping to better the health system and the education system. We're seeing that children who have additional needs are not, you know, just being separated from their communities. We're helping to help people to accept and work with them. You know, we're building toilets, we're improving vaccination rollouts. And so, yeah, definitely both sides. But
so if I just connect the dots now to that, because you've given me, you know, a lot of insights about you and the ministry, and I understand it, I think, a lot better now. But if you started to allude to it before, Adam and Lauren, your DNA, you know, behavioral styles, and, you know, for our audience listening to this, you're both engager style people. So you know, you like communicating, you're quite outgoing. But when you did the DNA discovery yourself, and you know, Carol ran you through it, and you got the feedback, you know, what did it say to you about, you know, yourself and what you're doing now, and building a team? Because I think that's something that you're big at doing, is building teams of people. So what did it say to you for that?
I remember reading mine, because I had mine done first, I think. But I remember I was in the office and I yelled out to Adam as I'm reading, I'm like, this thing knows me. It knows me. And
I think for me, it's just like, it does make sense in my brain, because for me, I find it hard to read people. Like, I don't know, but and even for myself, I just like, well, I'm going with the flow. I'm just going to do that. But then read that, it's just like, that's why I take a risk. That's why I do those things, because that's my, you know, that's my DNA. That's my, you know, it's just a lightning moment for me. Like, it's just like, wow.
And in the role that we were in at the time when we first did the profiling, we were in a recruitment role. And we worked out Adam is the one that asks, because he just seemed to have no fear about this. And yeah, like, you're asking people to give up half of their weekend every fortnight without any money. And he would just go, like, he became known as the guy who would ask, so either go and see Adam or avoid him, you know.
He would get you to do stuff.
Whereas we sort of said, Adam will ask you onto the team. I'll love you once you're on the team, you know. So we've definitely, I think, because I think that like, that might be one of the areas that we're sort of most different, is that Adam is more, I'm happy to take a risk, but I just like to be informed, like, you know, whereas Adam, you know, so with, you know, resigning from our jobs and stepping out and spending all this money to set things up, you know, Adam was like, okay, we've had the idea, let's go, you know, let's go. And I'm like, no, we've got to do this and this, but I'm happy to go. Like, I want to do it. And we did do it, and we have done it, and we are doing it. But definitely, you know, we worked out, let me plan, give me time, inform me, and then happily I'll jump on that. I'll jump on that with you, you know.
And I think it does help. Like, when we understand that, we know each other. Like I leave Lauren to do the things that she's good at, you know, like just organizing and all that. Like, for me, I'm just going, okay, let's do it. Let's get it done. Let's go. So I think, going through the DNA behavior does, help us a lot, open our eyes.
Because even though both of you are similar, I think that Lauren is probably a little more structured. And no, but not a lot more, but a little bit more structured. And I can definitely see, Adam, you are more of a risk taker, and you're prepared to jump off the ledge and have a go. and you're competitive about achieving a goal. I think you guys have actually got quite ambitious goals here. I think the thing was also with the pathway forward, you're both what we would call more anchored in your style. And I don't know whether you've reflected on that part at all.
I think we were just even talking about this, which we have before, because in different projects that we've done together, I guess, when we read that, it makes us aware that our team could come to us with ideas that are new, and we might not naturally be willing to try them. But we should be. But that might not be the anchored. Sorry, is that? Yeah,
that is the anchored. That is exactly it, okay. Lauren. You actually got it, and I think what it's saying is you've got a formula for doing this, and you want to do it around your formula, and that's how you engage people. And I think that can be a winning stroke to do this very consistently, particularly when you're dealing with lots of people. But the other side is occasionally you're going to hit a roadblock with a project, or something different's going to come up. How do you sort that out? Now, both of you are quite anchored. So somewhere as you build the team, you may need to think about having someone that's more of a creative. But always remember, with the creative, they could be an idea a minute. They could be good ideas, and there could be, not so good ideas, and you've got to sort that out. So, there's a strength and struggle with everything. But if we just to wrap this up, because and you guys have done really well with this, what would you say are your identities, how your greatest impact on this earth? And I think that's what's going to flow out of you two working together with the Zoe Ministries. So what do you see as your identity as? Because I think, Adam, you've been, I think this was coming before. We were talking about you're the storyteller that inspires people into action, and a little bit Lauren is bonding people into a team. I mean, am I getting on track? But
but
there's something bigger too about this global experience you're trying to create for people.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
And I think our identity is just like what you say, telling stories. But I think it's more, I feel like for me, helping people to identify what they're good at. I think I feel like for me personally, and I think Lauren knows this, and because we love teams of people, but I just want them to be successful. That's all I want. I want them to just, like even my current job, working with rough sleepers, I just want to help them. I just want them to live the best life that they can live. And I think for me, but I think the knowledge that I have, that knowing my behavior, it helps me to, just to thrive in the things that I'm good at instead of, so I think helping other people
but giving people who may not otherwise have it a cross-cultural global type experience through your ministry is going to transform a lot of lives. Because by doing that, I think they're going to find out what they're good at or not so good at, or that they will have changed their existing life. For some, if they're working as an accountant and been doing that for 20 years and come on one of your trips or do some work, they might find that's been incredibly boring and unfulfilling. And in a way, you're creating that moment for them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And
by bringing them together in groups, they're going to meet other people, but they're going to get an experience doing something that they may never get.
Exactly. That's right. And I think, just for people to remember, we only have one life to live, and and not YOLO and not whatever, but if you're not feeling like your life is significant, if you're not feeling like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then maybe be open to experiences like the ones that we, Zoe Global can provide to at least see what else is out there. Because I think every person is unique and has been put on this earth to be significant and to feel valued and give value. And
I was only saying that today. There's there's a great community of people in California who are using our systems, and very differently to you, but there's a lot of common traits. And I said that to them today, that God put us on this earth with our set of talents, our born talents, and a set of circumstances.
Yes.
That's right.
But what we're supposed to go and do on life, our mission on earth, is to go and find our calling.
That's
go and live it, and which comes with that having our identity and living a life of significance. And you can either face up to it and go on that search, or
That's
not.
Right.
And
Or not. That's right.
and both of you faced up to that. You made about turns in very different ways. I mean, Adam from the Solomon Islands, dealing with drugs and reforming your life and then reforming others. Lauren, you had every opportunity in the world. You could have been a doctor.
That's right. Yes.
And in a way, you turned your back on that to do this. And that takes a tremendous amount of courage. But really, what you're doing is you're transforming lives by providing people with the opportunity to have a global experience.
That's right.
Serving others. That's what's going on here.
That's right.
And there's story. The storytelling is what inspires people into action.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
So I think that I think what you're doing is wonderful, and I understand it. I mean, from a different lens, but I do think being able to go global and see how other people tick in the world, some people have very disadvantaged lives. You can go and add meaning to them, serve, but to take yourself outside your comfort zone and go and do something different.
That's right.
And if they come back and start transform their whole life, then it's a big win as well. Or if they just get an experience, that's great too, that they'll remember.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's
right. And that's what we want to do.
Well, it's been great spending time with you today, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you and what you're doing, and I know this is going to be very successful.
Thank you. Thanks
so
for your time.
much.
Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.